So how many gourds did I grow? Well, here's one little one. And 4 more. There's one hiding under here. And a deer. With her little baby. Okay, so I ordered the big ones into 10 groups of 5 plus 3, so there's 53 big gourds that are probably big enough to make purple martin houses. And then the little gourds are probably going to become chicken food and just compost. So 53 big gourds and probably about that many little gourds. And there's a few more out there that are still on some good vines and look like they might could still get bigger before the frost kills the vines all the way, so I left them out there. So, you know, that's a lot of gourds. Let me chop up a few of these and see how the chickens like them. Ooh, that looks juicy. I actually fed gourds to chickens before, and I was surprised that they seemed to really like them. Chick, 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 chick. Chick, chick. Chick, chick, chick. Chick, 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 chick. Go get your gourds. Go get your gourds. Go get your gourds. Go. Well, it's October 30th, and we're finally due to get our first freeze of the season, and I've decided to get the last of these gourds harvested. See how many total I got. I got 2 or 3 little ones right here that I can harvest real quick for the chickens. And I got some big and medium-sized ones mixed in here. But this one has a big crack right on the top of it. So I got a few that got way over here into the bushes. I got several little ones here I've gathered up. And one last big one right here. So there's my harvest, but I still got to go over to my greenhouse and get those gourds off the little greenhouse frame. And so you can see I got 3 hanging off my greenhouse frame here. One up there, that's 4 altogether. One down there. One right there is 5. 3 more hanging over here. Actually, there's one down here too. So there's 9 gourds on this greenhouse frame, it seems. So there you have it, a whole nother wheelbarrow full of them. So now I just got to count up how many big ones I have in particular. Alright, so I ended up getting 9 or 10 more big ones here, and then easily 10 or 12 13 more little ones. So that's a grand total of at least 62 big gourds and at least that many smaller gourds. So that's over 120, well over 120 gourds that I got this season. Now, what am I going to do with all these big gourds in particular is the question. Well, you make them into bird houses, purple martin houses in particular. That's the goal, at least, to see how many purple martin houses we can make. Okay, well, it's been a couple of months or so. I've left the gourds sitting out on my pool deck all this time, open to the elements. Now, we've had a lot of droughty weather, and so that seems like a lot of them have been drying out just fine through that period. But recently we've had some rains, more common or frequent, and cooler weather, of course, and I've been noticing some fruit flies coming around the gourds too much, and there has been one or two definite, or maybe 3 or 4 definite ones that have gone rotten, and so they're starting to have some decay rot issues, obviously, and I'm wondering how many of them I'm going to end up losing because I haven't been storing them properly to dry out. So I'm going to be figuring that out right now, and what I did in the past to avoid this issue was I drilled the entrance hole on the front of the gourd for the bird, purple martins typically. Drill the entrance hole while they're green, and then they will get all that rotten pulp that will desiccate, or it will condense inside of the gourd, and then you can go through and dump out the liquid and kind of pull the pulp out a little bit as it's going through this drying process, and that helps it to keep it from rotting because you're able to pour all the moisture out of the gourd that's building up on the inside. And also I kept it under cover last year. I had a lot less gourds last year than I had this year. I think it just had 1 wheelbarrow last year, whereas this year I had several wheelbarrowfuls, so a lot more gourds, so a lot harder to find space for all of them. But anyways, I'm going to go through and drill holes in them now and see how many of them seem to be good. So here are the big ones that were separated from the smaller ones, and you can see, like on this one, it had a crack in it anyway, so on the top, so I wasn't expecting this one to be useful, but you can see how weak the walls of it are because it got rotten, and so that's obviously not good for anything but the seeds, if you want to store the seeds, of course, or keep the seeds for next year. But a lot of these, it's hard to tell just from looking at them because, like, if you take this one for instance, it looks like it's obviously got a lot of mold on it, but that's not actually causing damage to the wooden surface. That wooden surface is still very much intact in there, and it should be good for a long time, but it's not completely dried out yet, even though it looks like it's pretty dry. On the bottom is where the rot can start to set in and soften the shell on the bottom if you don't get the moisture off, because that's where the moisture sits inside, of course, is on the bottom of it, and so it can start to rot through a lot quicker. And these ones, you can see this one, it is worrisome when I see the top of it like this, because that seems to indicate in the past that it was going to go rotten all the way on the top and just break off. You can see kind of the dark color around here. That's where it got some freezer damage whenever we had a big freeze a couple of weeks back. So that's not good either. But they can make it through that and still make a nice solid shell often too. So that one's worth drilling. And if they're not soft on their shells any noticeable amount, then I'm going to drill holes in them and try to speed up the process of the finishing drying so I don't lose any more to rot. Now they say that you only want a hole driller to be 2 1/8 inch of a diameter. Actually, no, I'm sorry, up to 2 1/4 inch of a diameter. And this one that I have is actually just 2 3/8. So I mean, what do you think? 2 3/8 compared to 2 1/4? You think that's going to make any difference with what the birds think? I have a hard time thinking it will, that small of a difference for the entrance. But, you know, I haven't really had a ton of experience, but it's a little bit bigger than what the maximum recommended size is, so hopefully that'll be fine. There's one. You can see the inside of this. That's the spongy stuff. Chickens actually like to eat a lot of that stuff. This one seems to be in pretty good shape. There's no real soft spots on it besides the inside, which I expect to be like that. Obviously a whole lot of moisture left on that. And so I drilled it right in the middle, which is about an inch or more above the surface. The gourd should be at least a good 7 to 12 inch total diameter to be big enough for the martins that make their nest in there. And so that's what I do. Just get a hole in there and then leave it sitting out, and then all this stuff will just start to release water, liquid, or juice, and build up in the bottom of this. You just come through and dump it out periodically, and that keeps it from building up in there and just causing it to rot. So a whole lot more to go here. I'm careful on this one, and when I went to move it over here with the others, you can see it threw up on me because it's got a lot of that liquid in there already. See that? That's what I'm talking about. If you come through and dump that mess out, then it can't just sit in there and cause rot. And of course you have an endless supply of seeds. So I'll be dumping these into a bucket from now on before I tip them without thinking about it. That pulp, that's good compost material right there if you don't want to save all those seeds. Alright, so that's 45 gourds now drilled, and while I was drilling them, I realized another benefit to why I should have drilled them sooner when they were still green. In addition to helping to keep them from rotting, I found that when they dry out on their own and you try to drill the holes in them after they are dry, that big hole for the opening, it's a lot more difficult to do without breaking the entire gourd like this one, because the drill just will spin right off of it really easily when you're trying to drill through that nice hard dried gourd wood rather than the softer green material. Okay, so I have one here that we painted some months back, and it's not quite finished because I need to drill some drainage holes in the bottom in case any moisture gets in there. Of course, it'll help keep it drained, and then a hole through the top here for a hanger so you can hang it up, obviously. Now, the simple thing to do is just kind of clean them off on the outside after they've dried all the way. Just clean them off with a little scrub brush. Real simple, no fancy washing necessary, and just paint over them with some nice white outdoor paint of your choice, and that should allow them to hold up for at least 2 or 3 or multiple seasons. Don't really know how many seasons, but multiple seasons. That's typically the way it goes whenever you just do this simple little painting like this. Nothing fancy necessary. product right there. I think that'll attract some nice birdies, purple martins in particular. And just glancing on Amazon, it's interesting to see that a simple gourd house like this easily goes for 20 bucks or even more, depending on maybe, I guess, how fancy the finish is. Maybe these could sell for 20 bucks a piece times 45. Well, that's like 900 bucks. So if I sold them all, that seems pretty worth it. We'll see how much I can actually sell these successfully coming up sometime early spring. If you look, the time for purple martin season in the south is usually right around the end of February at the latest, I think, is when you want to have your purple martin houses in place. So, and hey, if you like this video, you got a little something out of it, then be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and share. That would be awesome. Thanks.